for the Philadelphia 76ers, continuing to go in the wrong direction as they fall to the home Milwaukee Bucks, the host Milwaukee Bucks, 123-109 on this snowy Sunday in Philadelphia. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365 alongside computer-wise, right next to Derek Bodner, Bree as well. I'm Devon Givens, all of you. We thank you again for hanging out with us postgame here on this Sunday night as the Sixers drop their sixth consecutive game. They are now 15-26 as we start to continue to count these. They're really starting to pile up, man. They've lost a lot of games, but now they are back to losing them consecutively where they're not making up any ground in the win column. Think about it, Derek. When they were 15 and 19, we were looking at it saying, all right, 4 games under, 5 games.
Well, we thought Joel Embiid and Paul George would play basketball.
They're looking pretty good. And right now, it was a long time ago. Last time they won a basketball game.
That was a long time ago. And
yeah,
look,
man.
This was a game where, like, watching it, I don't think I was annoyed at all.
No,
there's nothing more you could really expect. And look, we can sit here and certainly nitpick, and there are some decisions that you can nitpick, and some individual players who maybe you could have asked. Although I'm not even really sure. Who would you look at and say, like, maybe, okay, Jeff Doughton was really bad, really bad. Pete Nate was bad. But, like, you're talking about two-way players, man. They have 8 available. Well, 9, because Reggie Jackson's available, right? He's not on the injury report. He's just out of.
He's just not playing. Yeah.
But they essentially have 8 players.
Did you just say Reggie Jackson was out of the rotation when they only played 8 players tonight?
They only have 5 guys in NBA contracts who are currently available.
Oh, man.
Well, 6 if you count Reggie, and Reggie's out of the rotation. Regardless, my point is they played 8 players, and 3 of them are two-ways. I can't be mad at the people on the floor. There's nothing to get mad. And, like, maybe Adem Bona, you're like, oh man, a couple of those fouls, maybe you could have played more than 24 minutes. We're talking about Adem Bona being a key part of this rotation right now. And look, I thought he held himself well, acquitted himself well in his first career start.
I agree.
Especially in a tough matchup with Giannis, who's great at drawing fouls. And Adem Bona, I don't know if you noticed, he's a little bit foul prone. I can't get mad at any single person on the floor right now.
No.
You just don't have your stars. And you don't have enough NBA players.
You do not. No, absolutely not. So we'll get to our player of the game a little bit later. I guess you know who that is. We'll talk about, maybe some other things in general overall with the game, maybe have some last minute thoughts after also hearing some of the post-game conversation, quote-wise, from the locker room, from the podium at Lincoln Financial Field as the Eagles advance to the NFC Championship game.
I was going to say, I thought you were talking about the Sixers. I'm like, nobody cares what Nick Nurse is saying in the post-game right now.
No. We're talking about Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, and the rest of the Philadelphia Eagles advance to the NFC Championship game. Our pregame show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We know this season is not an ordinary one now for the 76ers on the basketball side. But Derek, we went into this one, as you said, we expected it to be one that was pretty lopsided. At least I did. I can't speak for you. Pretty lopsided in this one against the Milwaukee Bucks. But they held themselves pretty well as after the first quarter, down by 9 again at halftime. They fight back where they eventually really looked like they were making it a game. Cut it to 4 and down by 9 once again after quarter number 3, where they were in this one the entire game. But as you said, they were very shorthanded, just 8 players overall. All of them, I think, except for one, played over 20 minutes. Pete Nance, we talked about how many minutes might he play behind Adem Bona in a starting role. Pete Nance had 20-plus minutes tonight off the bench for Nick Nurse's team. So acquitting themselves pretty well in this one, all things considered, as you pointed out. Maxey with his 37 a game high. We'll talk about him a little bit later as well. But your thoughts just overall on this one against the Milwaukee Bucks, losing this one 123-109.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably have to start off with Tyrese, right? 37 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. And it was, Kyle's been, man, I really wish if he could just consistently shoot, that would be great. And we all recognize he's shooting tougher shots. And there's way more focus on him, yada, yada, yada. Today, he was great. He was great in almost every aspect. I thought obviously early on, Milwaukee wants to play that deep drop. I think that helps get him, even if he's not getting that diet of off-ball shots that he typically gets when he's playing with Joel or when he's playing with another ball handler like he did for that year and a half with Harden, or even at times with Paul George, he's not getting clearly those off-ball shots, but because they play such a deep drop, he can get pretty clean looks pretty reliably, especially when he has the kind of range that he has. And he was making them, from 25, 26, 27 feet pretty consistently here tonight. And in the second half, Milwaukee, they extended Brook Lopez a little more, even trapped him a couple times out beyond the three-point line, and he was able to find those driving lanes. So I think this is one of the better games that Tyrese has had in quite a while of mixing both his threat as a shot and leveraging that to get shots inside of the arc. And I thought that was fun to see. And, he carried them for most of the night. So I think you start off sort of there. And it really was one of those games where you thought you had a chance to win almost solely because of him and him being on the floor and his performance. And this was a game where he was a floor raiser in this one in ways that he's not always. And part of that comes down to shots. But like I said, part of that is that he found that balance. And I was really impressed with his play.
Yeah, his shot making at first, and you can see it a little bit early too, Derek, where he was trying to get those others involved. He wasn't taking those quick shots, those early shots right away. He was trying to be a point guard and set up those teams, because we know with this lineup being so young, with the three starting guys from Bona, Council, and Edwards when he came in, but also even with Eric Gordon out there as well. Sure, Kelly Oubre can help him out with some of the ball handling responsibilities, those duties. But Eric Gordon, he's really limited at this stage of his career in doing so. So I thought Maxey did a really good job of trying to set things up. And once he started to set them up, helping them get into their offense, he was looking for his. They were really, really good. And defensively, I thought, too, for everything that he was doing on the offense, trying to carry the load, what you talked about, his shooting, he did everything possible tonight to give them a chance to stay in this one. And they did into the late part of the fourth quarter, where they were in it enough where you sit there and say, all right, if he continues to shoot like this and knocking these threes down, because he was getting some pretty good looks when, as you pointed out, changing some of their defense. Doc Rivers, of course, knows his former point guard, his former guard very, very well, of how to try to take him out and try to stop him, or at least slow him down. Maxey was still finding some pretty good opportunities overall, but you couldn't ask him to make every shot. I mean, it was just impossible to do so with the workload that he had to carry here tonight. So thought he did a really good job. And you talked about him playing 35 minutes and under. He played 41-26, but he never really looked tired. The shots that he missed were just missed shots, and that's what it was tonight. But the stat line, putting it together, handling the ball as much as he did, and only having 2 turnovers in this one, I thought he really acquitted himself well against this Milwaukee Bucks defense, shouldering and carrying the load, all of what he could do as a lead ball handler, lead scorer, and a guy having to give effort on a defensive end, where he was going to end up on Damian Lillard sometimes in some other spots where he had to really dig in defensively to try to prevent them from scoring. He was fantastic tonight, looking like the Tyrese Maxey that we know we will see sometimes when those others are out of the lineup and all of it's going to fall on his shoulders. He did all he could by lifting them up, carrying them on those broad shoulders, and dropping that 37 for a game high tonight. Unfortunately, as we know, he was really the only one out there that could put up that type of offensive performance to keep them in this basketball game and potentially winning it. Just not enough. Yeah.
No, and just like 2 years ago, from what I understand, Doc Rivers once again thought it was probably a good idea if you could put Tyrese Maxey on the bench, which he has some history doing as well.
Yes.
But no, I mean, look, Tyrese was fantastic in this one. He really was. And it wasn't like some people might look at this and be like, if you didn't watch the game, be like, oh, well, he put those up in garbage time, or it wasn't a close. No, it was a single digit game pretty much all night until the last 5 or 6 minutes there of that fourth quarter. Like they were in there, and they were in the game largely because of Tyrese. He was good in pretty much every facet. It really, no complaints, no notes.
What did you make of this floor game, though, knowing that 41 minutes he's going to have the ball a lot? Jeff Dowden maybe in the game a little bit with him, to help him out in the backcourt. But his floor game only ended up with 7 assists. But look who he's passing to on those outlets that he's getting rid of the basketball. They're just not equipped to make those shots all the time. So his floor game, though, I thought he identified a lot of players. Thought he got to the basket at the right amount of time and got off some really good shots. Even the ones that he missed, I thought they were pretty good. Didn't complain to the officials all that much tonight, which we've talked so much about. And His floor game, though, I thought, as we've talked about him a lot with his floor game as of late and seeing what he's done with it, thought it was pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah, no, I think he found the right kick out passes. Like you mentioned, there's not a whole lot of talent around him, so it's hard to pile up the big assist numbers. Although they did shoot 16 for 45 from 3-point range, and this is a Milwaukee team which will give up that three from time to time. And you had Kelly made a couple, Ricky made a couple, so Gordon for when he was in there made a couple. So there's a little bit of shooting out there around him, and I think he capitalized on that. I agree with you. I think he was trying to get people involved early on, and then once late in the first quarter. And then the second quarter when he came back in, I thought he then tried to really, kick it into gear and get his scoring going. I think it was one of the more well-balanced games that Tyrese has played in quite a while, as my cat just runs completely.
Part of the show, Derek. You don't even have to say it anymore. People who watch, they know.
She has a higher approval rating than I do by far. By far. No, he was good. He was real good.
Yeah, he really was. 123-109, Sixers fall to the Milwaukee Bucks. Their sixth loss in a row. And that tonight, again, without Joel Embiid, as we know, but Paul George, Guerschon Yabusele, Caleb Martin, also out tonight. Only 8 players, for the Sixers playing tonight. Reggie Jackson, a DMP on the evening. He did not play. 8 players all together tonight, getting the run with Jeff Doughton at 19:26, just under that 20-minute mark there, to hit all of the 8 players for over 20. We saw again tonight Adem Bona, very active, getting after it.
That dunk he had in between Giannis and Brook. When you're dunking between those two, you're doing something right. That man attacks the basket
What
hard.
Didn't they look at from the film last night? He did that. He did and look, the confidence was there for him to do it because he executed perfectly last night on that type of play. Fake dribble handoff, getting
his
there,
handle in a straight line drive. And I don't know if it extends to anywhere beyond a straight line drive, but his handle in a straight line drive is impressive for our expectations.
Did they not see it last night that they played up on that and allowed him to finish it? But look, man, he did not shoot as much tonight, but he was 4 for 4 for 10 points. He was 2 for 6 from the free throw line. I mean, Derek, he got to the free throw line 6 times for a second-round rookie who doesn't play a lot of NBA basketball. 6 times. Free throws, we know that's not a strong suit, but 10.6 boards. He did foul out in those 24 minutes and 5 seconds, which, again, is the reason why you had Pete Nance out there for 24 minutes and 3 seconds. So that's your 48 minutes of center play right there between the two players. But did have a steal, had a block shot. Though defensively he was okay for the assignment that he had. Brook Lopez, Giannis, he battled. He earned every bit of those fouls. And I even thought the officials blew the whistle a few times because of who he fouled versus it being an actual foul.
No, it was funny. And first of all, shout out, I think that's 2 games in a row where he hasn't missed a field goal. I believe he is 9 for 9 over his last 2 games. The free throw shooting, it would have been nice to connect on a couple of them. It feels like every time we talk about him, we're like, yeah, not a good free throw shooter. And then we look it up and he's shooting 74% on the season. Tonight was a night where I think you saw that there's still some progress he needs to make in that regard. But for the most part, I thought he had a real good game. And I had somebody reach out to me, who was just looking at the box score. Is it Hakabona? No, he's actually drawing those fouls because he's putting pressure on the rim. It was a pretty impressive first half performance from him. In terms of the fouls, I agree. I expected, if you told me he was going to commit 6 fouls in 24 minutes against this team, first of all, I'd say, yeah, it sounds about right. He's a foul-happy rookie who gets in trouble with his decision-making, and he's playing against one of the elite foul drawers in the history of this sport. For the most part, I didn't have a problem with his decision-making in terms of how he picked up those fouls. His decision-making, when I criticize it, or at least when I question it, is more like the shots that he chases to try to block because he's so out of position then as a rebounder, and his team is so bad rebounding the ball that you need him. Although for the most part, like I said before the game, Milwaukee's not they don't pursue offensive rebounds. So they only had 7 offensive rebounds on 44 missed shots. That's okay. That's good enough. But where I'm getting back to, I had very little problems with his fouls and with the decisions he makes and the angles that he took. I thought for the most part, he took an almost impossible matchup and I thought he competed. I thought his decision-making was good enough. I agree with you. I think Giannis, by virtue of who he is, got I'm not gonna say there were bad calls per se, but some 50-50 calls that could have gone either
Got
way
the
that
benefit
he
of
got
the
hit.
whistle
Yeah.
because he's Giannis.
No, if in terms of the matchup, in terms of first career start, in terms of how much they relied on him just to get minutes, I was very happy with his performance. And quite frankly, I'm starting to get to the point. I know Kyle's been hard on him, and I certainly think there's some development, both in terms of just processing the game, and also obviously offensive skill development. He has to go, but I'm getting increasingly convinced that there are the makings of a backup center in Adem Bona, and that's not setting the bar.
Especially with the way the season is trending right now. If
Yeah,
you're not going to get a lot from Andre Drummond, and who knows, Derek, right? He might be shipped out at some point during the trade deadline to make some salaries match, and maybe someone wants a backup center where they feel like they can get away with Andre Drummond down the stretch. But look, at this point, if you're trying to develop and player develop and see what you have, wouldn't that make
mhm.
more sense for him to be up here with the big club versus being with the Delaware Bluecoats?
Yeah, and quite frankly, he's been playing at least as well, if not better, than Drummond for quite a bit. Now, we can get in the debate over what their priority is in terms of the one-loss column, and maybe that you'll
Yes.
play Drummond because of that. But I do certainly think that Bona, like, you want to evaluate, and like so many of these, it's one thing, the offensive skill. All right, that's just going to take years of hard work. It's going to be, incremental progress year over year until the fact that he's, more confident, putting the ball on the floor pretty well, more confident with the jumper. His hands get better, things like that. But in terms of recognition, and that's really what's holding him back defensively, that needs reps. Like, there's no amount of just sitting on the bench that's going to completely fix that. He needs to see that information and react to it at game speed. And that would be very valuable over the next couple of weeks. So,
And
or months.
we already know that the Joel Embiid is not going to be here for, again, 7 to 10 days. Now it's a few days in. What was that? Friday when we got the drop from that. So 7, that will be this upcoming Friday. You extend that to 10 the following week. They have, as far as that goes, Derek, they have Denver on Tuesday, Friday, which is the full 7 against Cleveland at home. Then you have the Bulls on Saturday, second night of a back-to-back. Maybe Joel's not even traveling to Chicago to play then. Then you have the 2 home games, Lakers and Kings on a Tuesday, Wednesday, back-to-back. That's at least 4 games of possibly getting an opportunity to see him in real-time action against NBA competition. If Guerschon Yabusele may not be ready, Andre Drummond still battling his nagging injuries that he's dealt with all season long, at least the kid is healthy enough to get out there, lace him up, and give you 15 minutes of play, 6 fouls, and see what you have in the guy. He hasn't had an extended run yet where he's going to hit a problem where we're like, all right, Kyle's saying shoot him to the G League. He's probably going to be right. But he hasn't had that run yet to hit that wall. So far in these back-to-back nights, he's shown himself pretty well against some really good competition against Miles Turner on Saturday night, and here with Giannis and that front court with Brook Lopez, including Bobby Portis as well coming off the bench, where he showed himself well against some quality NBA competition in the front court.
Yeah, and it is. We're gonna get into there are levels to this. So, like, one of the things where Andre Drummond, I don't think they should necessarily sell a lot of their pieces at the deadline right now, and by that I mean KJ, Kelly, and Drummond, in part because I think those players are going to be more valuable to the Sixers as matching salary in the summer, so you can go out there and try to pursue trades then, than they are going to be like just selling Andre Drummond for a second round pick, for example. But Andre has a player option. So, like, if he is so pissed off at his situation and like playing a dem over him might piss him off, he might opt out of that. And then you don't have that matching salary for the summer. So maybe you have to play Andre both to help you tank and lose games and also to keep him happy enough where he opts into the second. So, like, there might be some psychological things you have to worry about here.
Yeah.
But I do think you have to give Drummond or Bona some minutes to evaluate, to help him grow, to help up that pattern recognition that centers just need. Like I said, so much of being you can talk to him, you can show him it in the film. Nothing really matters until you do it at game speed, and you have to process that and make those decisions at game speed. There's no way to do that without being on the court. And on the court against NBA players, I would love to see him get some consistent minutes here over the next month or two. in part because I do think it's crucial for his development, but also in part because it's crucial for me just having something to latch on to where I can watch game to game to game without losing my mind. And young players are one way that I can do that. That's how I got myself through the process, was watching young players grow and develop and debate over what they could be in 3 or 4 years. We can't do that with Jared. You got to give me Bona.
And maybe a few others. We'll talk about them on the other side, because there are a few other young players that had a decent enough game, just not enough to give the Sixers the win over the Milwaukee Bucks. They lose their 6th straight, 123-109 to Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll talk about those other young players on the other side right here on the Sixers Postgame Show, presented by Bet365.
All right. You heard Devon and I talking before the game about how we need to have a team bonding trip to the NFC Championship game. You heard that right. The NFC Championship game. And if we do that, Game Time is a place that we will turn to make that happen. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time offers, or the Game Time Picks, here are some of the great features that make Game Time so great to use. The Game Time Picks that I just spoke about, so you can curate your search to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. There's all-in pricing, so when you toggle this feature, it shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. There is the lowest price guarantee, so you get the lowest price, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. There's Game Time ticket coverage, where your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Game Time. Who?
Oh yeah, what time is it? My cat is just absolutely losing her mind.
No worries. And as you talk about the NFC Championship game, we all had a little scare for a couple of players for the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. And I was like, oh man, I got to get on the speed dial, folks, and send them to my good folks at Rothman Orthopedics. From Jalen Hurts to Quinyon Mitchell, we got to make sure that they're good to go and healthy enough to play, with just 2 more games to win the Super Bowl, and of course 1 to advance to the Super Bowl. And the one thing that we know about Rothman Orthopedics, they do everything: joints aching, hands cramping, hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part right there in your backyard. The fellowship-trained physicians subspecialize in specific areas of the body, and a multitude of orthopedic services, including, once again, hip, knee, spine, shoulder and elbow, foot and ankle, hand and wrist, all the sports medicine that you need. Jalen Hurts banged up his knee a little bit, got bent backwards, and it didn't look all that comfortable. Got you covered. Shoulder for Quinyon Mitchell, got him covered as well. Have a full week to get those guys ready to go. And Rothman Orthopedics, they are the place to go. So maybe they need some bracing. Rothman has you covered. Maybe they need some physical therapy to get things right. Rothman has you covered. And patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics. Year over year, Rothman consistently performs among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country at over 60,000. So Rothman Orthopedics, they subspecialize in orthopedics. And you visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers postgame show on the Sunday night here in Philadelphia. Sixers fall once again, losing their 6th straight. And our postgame show is presented by Bet365. All right, Derek, the other young players getting a lot of run tonight. Justin Edwards off the bench, logging just under 33 minutes at 32:59. Ricky Council as well, 29 minutes in the starting role for the 76ers. So when you look at their play, again, just evaluating the young players, Ricky is the up and down nature of what Ricky Council is. Oh, yeah. Played well tonight, knocked down some shots, didn't really complain all that much from his outside shooting. He did have some of those Ricky get to the basket, hang in the air, show off my hang time, and get some shots off. I will say, though, them or got fouled.
Yes.
Or Ricky.
If there was one drive that drove me nuts, though, it's the shot that he didn't take. That dump off pass, was it to Kelly that he tried? It had like a 0.2% chance of working. You were right there, rise up and shoot it. His for the most part, like you said, he had a couple of those, the hang pump fake that he actually made. So that was good. He had a couple of threes, including one that was like a 27-footer that really didn't need to be a 27-footer, but for whatever reason, when he just hangs out at the out on the perimeter, he doesn't do it anywhere near the 3-point line. But he made that one, so I'm not going to complain about that one either. Yeah, no, look, he's again, when you're asking Ricky to play 29 minutes, you're going to have some decisions that are going to leave you a little frustrated from times. But when he's making his threes like that, and the defensive effort was there, and he was trying, so yeah, he definitely played. It was one of his better games in a while.
Yeah, he ended the night, as I said, 4 for 9, 3 for 5 from beyond, made both of his free throws, 13 points, 2 steals, 4 boards, 3 assists, and he got after it tonight. So his minutes, when you look at him sometimes, and you could see where you're pulling your hair out, we got to call Dr. Glatt, the Glatt Restoration, Morgenstern, and it's like, Ricky, what are you doing? But that wasn't necessarily the case tonight.
You can call it the Ricky Council special.
Exactly right. The Ricky Council moment of the night, presented by Doc, Morgenstern Center. But yeah, he looked more under control, especially with those shots, as you said, the 27 to 28-foot 3-pointer that he probably didn't have to take. But it didn't look rushed. He wasn't fading. He didn't look like it was just bad ones. And even passing up threes, getting it back, and then shooting the three and making it. I thought that his decision-making for the most part was okay. You live with those Ricky Council type of drives where he's hanging and shooting with the left hand instead of his right hand. One goes in, one he gets fouled on, a few other out of control, going full speed to the basket type of run for Ricky Council. But in general, when you play 29 minutes, as you said, you know what you're getting. And you're doing so in 29 minutes without Joel Embiid on the floor, or Nick Batum last season on the floor next to him, and Tyrese Maxey with another Tobias Harris possibly out there on the floor for them together, where you can see that you're not asking so much of him in those 29 minutes. And he's giving you some really, really good effort, defensive plays, get out in the open floor, leak out in transition, and finish some highlight plays, whether it's a steal, a dunk. Tonight, you're asking him to be basically in that starting lineup, your third or fourth main scorer for that lineup. And that's asking too much of Ricky at this stage of his career, especially for where they are trying to steal wins at this point of the season. But he did good enough for his minutes out there for Nick Nurse.
Yeah. No, look, everyone right now is playing out of position and above their pay grade. It is what it is. In terms of Edwards, he obviously didn't have the numbers and the efficiency, 3 for 8 shooting for 7 points. I do think for the most part, I like his decision-making. And for the most part, it is quick decision-making. If he has an open shot, he takes it. If he doesn't have an open shot, the ball moves. When I'm talking about young players and role players, that is what I want in a role player. And I think he is, for the most part, like I said, filling that. It's going to be hard to be efficient when you're not making the threes and when you don't get the free throw line. And that's sort of where he was tonight. But the process to get to that, especially when we just compare it to Ricky, who we just talked about right before, I prefer that kind of a process. And I continue to be pleasantly surprised with Edwards' defense. I do still think, in terms of the real shot creation wings, I think he's at a bit of a, foot speed disadvantage on the perimeter. I think he has generally taken pretty good angles to try to overcome that. But against the really good ones and the really dynamic ones, I think he's going to struggle. Off ball, Rich and I were talking about the other day, he had a couple of real big helps off the corner that led to open threes. I think it was in the Knicks game, which makes sense because that's why Rich and I were doing a postgame show, where he helped unnecessarily and didn't really provide any kind of value in doing so and left open corner threes because of that. But I think he's growing. Like I said, the stat line tonight isn't going to jump off the page at you. And he certainly didn't play a great game, but I just like the way he plays the game, and it's been refreshing.
So when you look at him, going back to your scouting days, and you've seen enough of him now from Summer League to where we are now, just to kind of get an idea of the type of player. And you've always talked about the defensive profile with him, but we're seeing a little bit more, getting more minutes offensively, understanding his role within the offense, shot creation, shot taken on the catch and shoot opportunities, where his form looks pretty good. And then I look at his body, and I know you guys do too, right? You look at the measurables, you look at what the body looks like, 6'5", 6'6", and the type of guy that he is. and he still has that baby body where it's not
Yeah.
fully formed yet, where he's 19 years of age. He still has that young body where he hasn't been able to fill out, put on some muscle. And one guy watching him tonight, it made me think about it, where he's a strong player, he's an outstanding shooter, better profile coming out of college in Texas A&M, but one who never had the big bulk of all the muscles and all of that stuff. And that was Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton has always had just that like straight down, this is who I am. I don't have all of these Giannis sculptured muscles or anything like that. I'm just straight down but I can hoop. And that made me think of, as we were watching, I've always tried to look, all right, this guy hasn't filled out yet. He hasn't really put on any muscle, any more strength there to help him out on this level. But he kind of reminded me of what Chris Middleton was coming out of Texas A&M as a second-round pick for the Detroit Pistons at that time. And now what Chris Middleton has turned into as a multi-time All-Star, an NBA champion, a Team USA participant, and one who has really carved out a nice career because of his shooting and the profile in general. He became one of the better, once he became the Milwaukee Bucks, Chris Middleton, Derek, his defense was so much better back then than it has been the last few seasons as a two-way type of player. And I look at Chris Middleton and I see that similar, at least, body type as I saw from Chris Middleton back in those Texas A&M days, early Detroit days.
Yeah, and Middleton's probably a place you could look at too, where if you're trying to add skills to Justin's arsenal, Middleton's probably a pretty good place, because I think the one thing I would love to see Justin add is sort of like that off-ball movement shooting, coming off of a screen, coming off of a pin down, running off of floppy. I think Middleton has developed that, whereas Justin he can step into a three. He can move a little bit off of a three, but not really with the kind of speed to come off of a screen and really be a threat.
Right.
And that's one area where I would love to see Justin add to his game, because then not only are you getting those threes, but you're getting closeouts to attack. And Justin, when he's on a straight line drive or when he's able to go to his left, is showing he has some stuff off the dribble, but the offhand I think's got to develop, and also just the sheer burst to do it against a set defense isn't really there. So anytime you can get the defense on the move, it's going to help him find driving lanes. So yeah, I think Middleton's a bit of an interesting comp in terms of body comparison, and specifically in terms of skill set of what I'd like to see Justin add to his game and maybe take that next step as a more reliable player.
And I'll probably stick to the one where I went with, I think it was a post game, and you guys were at the arena. So Rich and I was talking about, and if I'm wrong, you just let me know. But I think I was talking about CJ Miles, and CJ Miles is a lefty, and with him, similar type as well. No more for his shooting though. Right out of high school, CJ Miles was. So that's what got him drafted, was that shooting. And looking at the lefty part of it with Justin Edwards, where maybe I'll stick with it because we're talking about, again, Chris Middleton, like a 4 or 5 time All-Star, and it was a legit 4 or 5 time All-Star player of his caliber. And if you can even get to the CJ Miles part, where you're looking at a 20, 25-minute definite rotational player for a guy like that, you've struck gold with someone like that if you can carve that out of Justin Edwards in his career.
Oh, for sure. No, that would be a very high-end outcome for him. And, clearly Justin had some pedigree as one of the highest rated players in his high school class. College did not go the way he expected at all. Little surprised he stayed in the draft given how low his stock had become. But, some players are maybe just, they get to the spot that they want to be at. And obviously Justin is a hometown kid. You have a way to dictate where you go as an undrafted player that you don't as a maybe second round pick. So maybe this will end up working out for him. Who knows? He was someone who, quite frankly, I doubted a lot over the summer. I doubted a lot in the fall. It mostly came down to that first step. I didn't think he had either the first step to create a shot or the lateral quickness to stay in front of people defensively. And at that point, the burden of making shots to be a actual useful player is so high that I worried that he wasn't going to be able to find it. But he's been much better defensively than I expected. And he's been able to find his spots off the dribble. Like I said, even if it's not when your defender is, ready and locked in and manned up, he's still been able to find driving lanes off of an unset defense that he has been significantly better than I expected. I'm happy to keep him around on a two-way for sure.
Yeah, so I have to ask you, he was part of this lineup to start the second quarter, Derek. That was Pete Nance, Justin Edwards, Eric Gordon, Jeff Dowden, Tyrese Maxey to open the frame. And they eventually went on like a 15-2 run, I believe it was, to eventually take a lead. They took the lead at 31-30, and they extended that lead a little bit, 15-2 run. Maxey had about 8 in there. Gordon hit a 3 off of a Maxey pass. Edwards had a bucket in there. I thought was a pretty good one. Intermediate bucket there as well. When you first saw the lineup, though, because we talked about these things a lot of, oh my goodness, look at this lineup. We know what the starting lineup was, but again, Nance, Edwards, Gordon, Doughton, and Maxey out there on the floor. Did you expect that five to run up a 15-2 run against that Bucks team with Giannis on the floor?
Well, no, because you never expect the 15-2 run with the lineup six are throwing out there. I will say though, that was, Giannis had played the entire first 12 minutes of that first quarter and he was out to start the second. So that's why you thought like, all right, maybe with Maxey and Giannis out, maybe this is the Sixers' chance to get back in the game. Not so much because of who was on the floor alongside of Maxey, because there just aren't very many lineups you can throw out there alongside of Maxey. You go, oh, this makes logical sense. That's not the team that we're working with. It's not the team that we're talking about. But because Giannis was out, like, yeah, it did feel like there was a chance. And also, the Sixers played pretty good defense there. They got cleaned up the glass. I think they forced a turnover to got into some earlier offense. And Maxey was able to, I think Maxey had 8 of those 15 points there during that run. He was able to get himself free a little bit. And they were able to get, Justin was moving well off ball. They were limiting Milwaukee to one shot. So they did a real good job there.
Yeah, they really did. Any last minute thoughts on the game overall before we take a break? We pretty much covered the young guys, Tyrese Maxey, of course, but anything else catch your eye tonight as we look forward to the Denver Nuggets on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we haven't really spoken about Kelly all that much, and he was probably their second best player here. Kelly has struggled from the perimeter for pretty much all season. He's shooting 27% from 3-point range on the season. So him coming out, making those 2 threes, I think he did a good job moving off ball again and cutting, attacking when it made sense. I thought he played one of his more in control games and better two-way games in quite a while. I thought Kelly was pretty good here as well.
Yeah, 19-6 for Kelly Oubre in another starting role where he played 38 minutes and 43 seconds, knocked down those 2 threes. Even at the end, when he was in the lineup before, the game was really out of hand. The game was out of hand, but he was still out there. Missed the shot, second quick jump, tipped in, got that 19 point with that 6 board. That was his only offensive rebound, but he played through the whistle all night until the final all 4 zeros out there hit the final clock there, and he did what he needed to do to be the secondary guy to Tyrese Maxey. Of course, if he had made a few more along the way, but not bad shots. He didn't put them in a tough spot. He didn't force things. It was just that kind of night where you're playing the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that's better than you, and you lost. But yeah, he was fine tonight. I had no issues with him. His 19, maybe, you asked for 22, 23, of course, but it just didn't work out that way. So for what he did, he was more than fine as a co-star next to Tyrese Maxey. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. We'll come back. We'll give you our player of the game. No surprise there. And we'll wrap things up on the football side as we close things out on this Sunday night. Sixers fall 123-109. Now their 6th consecutive loss. They are 15-26, and the schedule does not get easier going forward with Denver on Tuesday night in Denver against Nikola Jokic and company. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more, plus some football conversation. The AFC Championship game is pretty much set now, right? As I walked away, they were still playing, but it should be pretty set. And we'll talk about just our thoughts overall when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. And presented by Bet365. I have to tell you about them right now. Our postgame show, our shows, they're a big part of our show, Bet365. And Derek, I did fall short on my pregame picks. Tyrese Maxey easily cleared the 20.
Were looking good, though. I thought you had a chance there.
I was 4 assists short from Giannis Antetokounmpo. And one of our issues was he might not play enough. Well, he played 36 minutes and he handed out 6 assists. His teammates missed a few things there, but overall, we did come close in general at hitting that bet there. But hey, I'm never worried about it because I have a chance to bounce back every single time when it comes to Bet365. Bet365 never ordinary, and they have over 90 million users worldwide, and they pioneered live in-game betting. So as I'm watching the 76ers game, I had a chance to go peek at Bet365, looking to see what was happening with the AFC Championship game. It was a battle there in Buffalo, and I did so because of the opportunity of taking a peek on the Bet365 app with the live in-game betting. Now, we have a big game tomorrow so that you can take advantage of Bet365, their early payout offer as well. You're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points, and that includes college football, and the title game is on Monday night. So if your team goes up, whatever side you choose, Ohio State or Notre Dame, your team goes up by 17, you get an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app, use code PHLY365 when you sign up, and you're right there in the mix. And breaking news from Bet365, new customers now get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Well, fellas, the Eagles are. I think this is a replica of the Eagles.
Look at that
Super Bowl. I've even got one from the Phillies in 2008. Let's see if I can get my camera to actually focus on it. I don't think it's going to work. They got these from some fast food establishments, which we will not name since they're not giving us any money. But while the Eagles are hunting down a ring, you can too at Golden Nugget Jewelers. Golden Nugget Jewelers is located at Chestnut and 8th in downtown Philly and is a family-owned and operated business since 1987. If you're getting engaged, Golden Nugget Jewelers has a wide assortment of rings, and wedding bands to fit anyone's style. On top of that, you receive a final cleaning and a written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. But Golden Nugget Jewelers is not just wedding jewelry. You can find watches, diamonds, diamond necklaces, diamond bracelet, earrings, and more. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Head over to goldennuggetjewelers.com to learn more.
I have a Phillies one also. It was like a Bryce Harper day or something.
Okay.
It wasn't last summer. It was the summer before. And they gave out these big Phillies rings. Pretty cool. I have them though. Valentine's Day is coming up though. Fellas, when you go out there and get a ring, Golden Nugget Jewelers is a spot for you. Or ladies, you want to go get the ring for your guy? Whatever. Valentine's Day, Golden Nugget Jewelers. Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame show presented by Bet365, where we eat candy live on the show all the time. Yes, I am.
You do. I don't, because I'm not smart and I didn't bring any candy with me.
And I always do share when we have it. But yes, eating candy live on the show. Actually, eating candy that we got from our friends, the ladies.
Yeah, I've still got some downstairs. I'll tell you what, they gave us a lot of candy. When I picked up that bag, I was not expecting this to take me weeks to finish.
I won't show the name, but I'll just show the box. You know what I'm saying? Yes, one of my favorites. Knocking those down right now. All right, let's get to our player of the game. No surprise, Bree. Tyrese Maxey. No surprise there. 37.
Adem was robbed
again for a second consecutive game. Adem Bona was robbed. Maybe we have to sneak in there and put Adem Bona, and he might steal the player of the game awards. But
he can be the bonus player of the game.
Yes, he can. But Tyrese Maxey was fantastic with a game best 37. Unfortunately, not enough in the loss. Our player of the game, as always, is brought to you by no one. All right. All right, is the just a quick look ahead, Derek, on this one with the Denver Nuggets on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joel's not playing, so the Denver Nuggets people will get a nice kick out of that. The fan base.
Let's start off there, okay? Joel Embiid has played like 30 basketball games in the past year and a half. When he's done with this 10-day absence, he will have basically not played in a month. If your takeaway from this is that Joel, even if you're joking about it, if your takeaway is that Joel
Embiid
is
stop you when you're
Denver,
down. That's it.
Get a life. Not everything is about you. You are not the main character here. This is a guy who has had 2 surgeries on his knee, whose career might be in jeopardy. At the very least, you might be seeing the end of the MVP portion of his career. It's not about you. You are not the main character. It's ridiculous. I can't believe I saw that the other. I truly cannot believe that when you're talking about a player who cannot get and stay on the floor, that an opposing fan base can't have this tiniest bit of empathy just because he won an MVP one year that you think your guy should have gotten it. It is absolutely patently absurd. It's everything wrong. That's everything that's wrong with sports debate on the internet nowadays. It's everything that's wrong with social media. Get over yourself.
Was that game flexed? Because it was a TNT, it's a nationally televised game. Was it flexed out, or is this it's still there? Right, TNT game.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to the national as much as I should probably.
I think it is. I think it's still a TNT game.
All I know is that we're going to be starting a game at 9:30 on our pregame show for a game where nobody's going to play. It's going to lose. I'm going to lose my mind.
Tyrese Maxey's playing. Don't worry about it. Maybe Yabusele will get out there as well. And no worries, Adem Bona is there to save the day. But you know, you're not going to just hear it from the Nuggets fan base, Derek. You know, you're going to hear it also from. They're going to bring it up on the TV broadcast. They're going to talk about him in general because he has been out, but they're going to just naturally bring it up that he hasn't played in Denver in the last 3 seasons now that he's missing this game.
And look, remember, it was a big deal last year when he missed that one. And then he went out and he played against the Warriors. Yep. And obviously there's a lot of focus on Kuminga when he landed on his knee, but Joel Embiid was not moving right even before then. And I'm sure Kuminga made it worse, but he should not have been on that floor against the Warriors. Nope. And it was very obvious he missed that game against Denver for very legitimate reasons. And again, if we're sitting here and you're saying that a guy who has had injuries on his meniscus, multiple ones, cannot miss a game because your feelings are hurt that he doesn't show up to Denver, like, shut up.
Totally.
He should not have played. He should not have played in that Warriors game last year. I'm convinced.
He should not have. No, he should not have. Not at all. Not at all. All right, man. Well, that was that. That was that. All right, man. Just some last minute thoughts here from you. The Bills win 27-25.
I thought the game. I didn't get to watch most of it.
Neither did I, because of course we were doing that. I did peek in on Bet365 because they have the live in game. When you betting, you can check in, and it was a close game. 27-25. Buffalo moves on, and I actually thought that I thought the Ravens were going to win this one. I did. I really did. So all the conversation about MVP. First of all, the MVP, Saquon Barkley, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. It's a regular season award. So nothing matters right now of what they're doing. Now, if they win in their conference championships, then they will be awarded maybe. Don't they get an award for the conference championship? I think they do. So, I mean, we got to stop there that Saquon, yes, MVP chanted all because he's that good, but he's not winning it. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson today did not clinch an award that's already been voted on by the people who vote on it for whatever player. But just your thoughts on the AFC Championship game. You get Buffalo and KC in Kansas City. Should be a good one. Will Josh Allen finally do it, Derek, and prevent Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs from going for that three-peat?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's very few things I believe more than just don't bet against Pat Mahomes in the playoff. So no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna pick Kansas City in that one. I am a little bit sick of it, quite frankly. Right. Just, and as much as I like Andy, it's just I want something new. I don't really want Carson getting a ring either. So that would hurt my soul, especially if it ends up being over the Eagles. But no, I would certainly pick Kansas City in that.
And I remember Bo asked us in the beginning of the year for our preseason picks and all of that. And I did have Kansas City again getting to the Super Bowl. I just did. Because
it's so boring to pick the same thing over and over and over again, but
Yeah, but they're that good. They're that good. I thought the refs, and I'm not one of those guys that say, "Oh, the refs they make up something for Kansas City and Pat Mahomes, and that's how these other teams lose." But I thought it was a really, really, really corny call by the officials where they threw the flag on Will Anderson early in that first quarter, where they stopped the Chiefs, and the Chiefs went on to score. I think they only got 3 points, but they pushed it to like 6-3 or something like that. But it's 3 points, and Will Anderson stayed up high because you know how it goes. You go low, what's going to happen? They're going to say you drove him to the ground, ball was already gone, personal foul or whatever they're going to call against the quarterback, roughing the passer, and you're going to get flagged anyway. He stays high. Pat Mahomes kind of lifts his head up and avoids the face-to-face, the helmet-to-helmet, or the face-mask-to-face mask contact, and they still called it. And I thought the instant replay was for even the people back at the video center can review it and say, yeah, that was not an actual foul. That was wrong there. They should be punting here. And they didn't. And that's where I think some of the flaws come into this instant replay and checking things out. I'm not one, again, that always talks about these officials with the Kansas City Chiefs, but I mean, the evidence is there oftentimes, man, where you're like, geez, this always seems to happen when they're on the field.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah, so tough one, but the Final Four, man, the Birds in it. I know we'll talk about it. We'll have a chance to throw it in our shows throughout the week, and we'll have some time to talk about it. So our schedule this week is what? Monday and Wednesday.
In studio at 3. Yep.
At 3:00. Friday as well?
I would have to check.
Yeah,
I'm not
they
sure.
play. Yeah, they play Cleveland on Friday. So we're in there for a game, but games are on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. So Monday and Wednesday,
Sunday off because we're going to the Birds, baby.
Going to see the Birds. Going to see the Birds. We hope. All right, let's get to our world famous roll call.
We did have a super chat drop in.
Can't
ignore cannoli like that.
Go for holy cannoli.
If the Sixers extend Oubre this summer with bird rights, would they have a larger salary amount to trade later instead of at the deadline? So Oubre still has 1 year left. I think that's a player option, though. I would have to double check that. So I guess you're asking if if Oubre opts out and they sign him to a long-term deal. Then it gets complicated with sign and trade rules. Basically, you might have to wait a little while before you can trade him. But yeah, in theory, if he opts out, you sign him, he would have early bird rights, but you could give him a raise, and then trade him at the deadline. In theory, that's something that could happen. Yeah. Yep. But I think it's more likely that you would trade him over the summer, mostly because you're just not ready to really commit here in the at the trade deadline. Like at this point, it would be tough to be buyers unless the exact right deal comes along. If that deal doesn't come along, then I think you probably just hold on to Kelly, hold on to Drummond, hold on to KJ, and try to be more aggressive in the summer. I think this is a situation where you're not buying now for a playoff run this year. So the only way you trade those matchable salaries is if you have a deal that makes sense. Otherwise, you be patient. That's really why I was suggesting that there's a chance that they could be around past the deadline and would have value with their salary.
All right. Let's run it again. Let's run the roll call, dude. Let's run it one more time so that people
he paid money.
Right.
You got to read the super chat. That's all.
And that's where we were going to start with Holy Cannoli with the super chat on the roll call. Thank you, Holy Cannoli. Really appreciate it. With the roll call, Derek, are you going to run with them since you typically do? Let's run with the roll call.
All right. I think we got to start off at the top with Winona, Jeannie. I know I saw Jess with the purple heart in there as well. Thank you all for that candy,
ladies.
That Devon referenced. It has been wonderful. A lot, quite frankly. It's a lot. But you hit all of my favorites, so I appreciate that. Yes. X-Man.
What up, X?
Denian. Macmon. I don't know. Mary Overfield. WM.
Hey, Mary.
Davini. PHLY guy who said he was tardy but present. Buddy, with these games and this team, just being present is way more than we could ask for.
That's all we can ask for. We really appreciate it.
Or being tardy. James Alexander.
What up, James?
As we mentioned with the super chat, Remo K, mom's grandchildren.
Remo.
Hanging in there. John Peace. I think that's all the names at ECW and WWF.
What up, John Peace?
I think that's all the names I have written down. Let me scroll up, see if I had anyone that I'm missing, but we appreciate each and every one of you for joining us here on this one.
Yes, we do, especially on as things have gone away from the Sixers. We really do appreciate it with you hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. We do want to say one more time that our post-game show is presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Make sure you like and subscribe. And when you do, you have an opportunity to get some good content here on the show for sure. We have a busy week as we just laid out for our schedule, Monday and Wednesday, 3 p.m. Games on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. Don't forget about becoming a diehard member overall at allphly.com. A lot of great content from the Flyers, Sixers, and the shows overall, but definitely for the Philadelphia Eagles with everything that's happening right now with the Birds advancing to the NFC Championship. Zach, great stories.
Close the wrong tab.
Nah, it's all good. Zach, great stories. And, of course, with Fran, with his breakdown, he's getting ready for the draft as well. Les Bowen, Bo Wolf, got you covered at allphly.com. Become a diehard member, sign up. And when you do like and subscribe our show, you have an opportunity, bell icon. And when you do, you'll hear the bell to alert you that it's showtime here with us on the PHLY Sixers show. So for Bree, production excellence, as always, Derek Bodner, I'm Devon Givens. Kyle had an opportunity to hang out at the game. He's probably unthawing as we speak, and we'll catch up with him tomorrow as well. So for all of us here at the PHLY Sixers show, everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk to you on Monday at 3 p.m. right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Good night.